What It's Like in the Beginning When You Don't Know Jack, or How to Watch Japanese TV, written by Khatzumoto, posted sometime prior to May of 2007. A while ago, someone was asking me what it's like in the beginning, what it was like for me when starting on this journey to become one with Japanese. It's a great question, and I think the answer will be valuable, so here are some of the points I thought of. 1. It's scary. When starting out Japanese, the idea itself is intimidating. You see a wall full of kanji, and it's intimidating. You see a page full of Japanese, and it's intimidating. You hear real Japanese, and it's intimidating. After all, how are you supposed to learn all of that? No way, no way. It's too much, it's too scary. If I just read a lot, then in the near future I'll be able to do that? To understand that? Pull the other one. Well, you will. 2. You only understand a little. I say to watch TV and movies, listen to music, eat food, hang out with people, all in Japanese. But yeah, you won't understand a lot of it, but that's why you have to expose yourself to it. Because I guarantee you will pick up one word. Now, look up that word. Get an example sentence with that word in it. Okay, back to TV. Pick up another word. Get an example sentence with that word in it. Okay, now back to TV. Another word, another sentence, back to TV, repeat. You see where this is going? What's that? You picked up a phrase? A sentence? A scene? You go on, building, growing, increasing until the situation inverts such that eventually you're no longer looking up the one and only word you do understand, you're looking up the one and only word you don't understand. No matter how complex and impossible it may seem, remember that there are a finite number of words used in Japanese. It's spoken, daily, by a finite number of human beings who learned it in a finite time with finite resources using their finite energy. Just like you. You may have far to go, but it's far from impossible. It may take time, but since you're going to be spending that time anyway, you might as well spend it learning Japanese. Using authentic materials, that is, materials created by and for native Japanese speakers. It's hard work, but it's a good gauge of where you are, and it can actually be really motivating. It's a living reminder of what you're shooting for. To make the things easier, I would suggest you do 2 things. A. Initially, I would use materials intended for learners of Japanese, but always have real Japanese in your immersion environment, and start to gradually wean yourself off Japanese English materials as soon as you can. B. No matter what your level, always feel free to use and enjoy materials that were originally in your native or base language, but that have been translated into Japanese by pros. Hollywood movies are a great example. Watch American movies and TV shows dubbed into Japanese. Right now, I'm big into Prison Break. Wentworth Earl Miller III is my new favorite action hero, and like Crystal K, he is, in fact, black. 3. Failure is the mother of success. This is true of both input, reading and understanding, and output, writing and speaking. You're going to fail a lot. Quote-unquote fail is a strong word, but it's the only short word I could think of. Every time you don't know what something means or how to say it, we call it a failure. You recover from this failure by either inferring what could be meant, restarting or rewording yourself, consulting a person or dictionary for the correct way to say something, or some combination thereof. And after each of these quote-unquote failures, you make sure to enter it into your SRS, so that you'll remember it. The next time you're in a similar situation, you will not quote-unquote succeed. Eventually, you'll increase your successes and reduce your failures to a point that you can be called fluent. 4. The exam effect. Another thing I'll add is this. Once in a while, when you look up a new word in order to understand a sentence, you might still be standing there not knowing what the sentence means, even though you may know every individual word in that sentence. No matter, learn example sentences that use that word where you do know what the sentence means. Sometime later, you will come back to that original sentence and you will understand it completely, and you'll wonder what all the fuss was about. I don't really know why this is. Maybe there's just some background knowledge of the underlying linguistic logic of Japanese that's lacking. It's like when you're taking an exam and you read the question and you're completely stumped, like, WTF, this is gibberish, there goes my GPA. And you skip over the question, and then when you come back to it later, it makes perfect sense. You answer it instantly. Your GPA is saved and you get to keep your scholarship. The only difference is that, in the case of a Japanese sentence, the time will be in the order of weeks rather than hours. 5. Work now, pay off later. Let me be frank. Mining for sentences is fun, but it's intense and it can get tiring. The payoff comes later. That's why it matters so much that you enjoy your study materials, because you will be using and reusing them so brutally. You're going to watch Independence Day a lot, and you're going to wear out the pause button on your remote. You're going to keep pausing it and mining the subtitles for new words, so if Independence Day bores you, your life will start sucking. Conversely, if it doesn't, then things are good, and you can keep pausing and mining for hours on end. Because you work so hard on the material, you don't get to sit back and relax with it as much. This does take out some of the enjoyment. Not a lot, just a tiny deduction because you're exerting yourself so much. So make sure that you watch and listen to things you really, really enjoy in order so that you don't feel that much of an enjoyment reduction. This is not to say that work in the beginning sucks. It's fun. It is fun. But the true reward comes later. Days, weeks, and months down the line, when you're doing something else and you're again hit with that word that you learned a while ago and that you've been diligently reviewing in your SRS, and you know exactly what that word means because you learnt it, and you know it and it's yours. And not only do you know what it means, but you know it's reading too. Or you see a joke or a reference that you wouldn't have understood if you had stopped and learned something a while ago. Or you're sitting down, reading Japanese emails, and you understand every word because you're used to sentence mine emails. That's when the payoff comes. You get to coast, at least in some areas, because you have been revving up your engine so hard. You get to slide down the hill because you work so hard to push your mental sled up it in the first place. Let me give you a concrete personal example. The first time I read Neon Genesis Evangelion, I didn't get to enjoy it that much. It was fun, but I wasn't all curled up on a designer beanbag, engrossed in the adventures of Rei and Shinji. I'd be walking to class or sitting up at my desk, highlighter in hand, circling words that I needed to look up or phrases that I wanted to remember. It was more like plowing a field than surfing. But months later, the second time through, I actually read it like a book. I lived the dream, pouring through volume upon volume of Japanese text, unencumbered, enjoying it for enjoyment's sake, on a beanbag. The payoff had come, but it took a while. The payoff will come for you, too. Just keep on keeping on. Now, if you'll excuse me, Stargate SG-1 needs me to watch it. And laugh at TLC's comically deep Japanese voice.